Today's Tanya for the 28th of Teves is in the middle of Perek Yud Zayin 17. It's on Daf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph. The number at the bottom of the page is 74. The Alter Rebbe is saying that because a Beinoni is in control of his mind, even though he's not always in control of his heart, therefore the average Beinoni is capable of arousing the conviction that God ought to be served and that his soul ought to serve God. He is always capable of arousing this conviction in his mind, which in turn affects the heart and his actions. And that is sufficient for the doing of the mitzvah, and that is what the pasuk means, bilvavcha la'aseh, that it is very close to you in your heart when we're talking about that part of the heart that is necessary for the doing. It is not the highest or the deepest part of the heart. It is the part of the heart that comes just before the action. And this every person can achieve. Every person can reach this love and this fear because their mind is in their control. Now, about a third of the way down on the page, the line begins, Im Loi. The Alter Rebbe is saying that every person's mind is in his control, and the mind controls the heart, and thereby controls his actions. Im Loi, with the one exception, Mi Shehu Rasha Be'emes, the person who is on the lower level Rasha, a true Rasha. K'may Marazal, as the sages say, Shaharashoyim, Hein B'rishus Libam, Ve'ein Libam B'rishusam Klau. The Rasha is not only not in control of his heart, but his heart is in control of him. And therefore, he can't even arouse this conviction in his mind and heart that would enable him to do the mitzvah with a full-fledged service and aveda tama. V'zeh, and this condition of being in the control of his heart, einish, it's a punishment, al geidol ve'etzem aveinam, for the immensity of their sins, and therefore they are not included in the statement of karev elecha hadavar ma'ed. For them it really is not close. How can it be that the Torah should make a statement to all Jews, and yet it doesn't include all Jews? So the Alter Rebbe says, V'lei dibra Torah b'meisim elu, the Torah does not speak about these who are considered dead, shebechayehem kruyim meisim, even while they're alive. They are called dead, ki be'emes hi efshar l'rishayim lahaschil aved Hashem, because it is in fact true that it is not close to them to start serving God with love and fear. They can't begin to serve God, believe sheyasu tshuva, without first doing tshuva. So the statement, karev elecha hadavar ma'ed, that it is very close to you, this is talking about the average Jew, the normal Jew, the Jew who is alive. But the one who even while he's alive is considered dead, the Rasha who is a Rasha be'emes, he is not included in that statement. He is the exception to that rule, because he is incapable of serving God. He first has to do tshuva. And the tshuva has to be al ha'avar, tchilo. He first has to fix the past, shaber ha'klipis, to break the klippa, sheheim mosach mavdilu mechitza shel barzel, because the klippa that was generated by his sins form a curtain that separate, an iron curtain, hamafsekes beinam lavim shabashamayim, that interferes, blocks them from their Father in heaven. So they have to get rid of that klippa al yidei shviras libei umeriras nafshei al chatov, by being broken-hearted and embittered in their soul over their sins. As the Zohar explains on the pasuk that says that the broken heart is pleasant, acceptable to God, shal yedei lev nishbar, because it is through the broken-heartedness that nishbar ruach hatuma desitra acher. When a Beinoni is broken-hearted, particularly when a Rasha is broken-hearted, then the heart that is broken is the left side of the heart. The animal soul, the klippa. The klipa is broken when the person is broken-hearted, because what is humbled is the arrogance of the klipa. Ayin Sham Pasha Pinchas Daf Reish Mem, Upasha Vayikra Daf Ches v'Daf Hey Amud Aleph, Ubepirish Haramaz Sham. Vehi Bechinas Tshuva Tato. Now this tshuva that is necessary for a rasha, before he can begin to serve God with love and fear, even the conviction of love and fear, this tshuva is called the lower level tshuva. The function of this tshuva is lehales hey tato, to elevate the lower hey, the second hey of God's name. And that's what tshuva means. Tashuv hey, bringing back the hey. Only there are two hey in God's name. There's the higher hey, which is the first hey, and then there's the lower hey, the second hey. And the second hey is a reference to the nishama, to the godly, to the part of God that is here on earth in every Jew. So this hey has to be returned and elevated from its fall. V'hales hey tato, to elevate the lower hey, lahakima minafilasa, to raise it up from its fall, shenofle lachitzenim, in that it fell into unholiness. Shehu said Golus Hashchina, which is the idea of Golus Hashchina, of the Shchina being in exile. That's when a nishama of a Jew sins. T'maimer Ezal, as the Gemara says, Golu le'edeim Shchina imohem. That when the Jews go into exile, into Edeim, then the Shechina goes into exile with them. What does it mean to be in exile in Edeim? That when a person behaves in the manner of Edeim, of Esav, which means that he sins, he acts in an unholy fashion, then he brings down and draws down to that level, to that unholiness, the godly spark, that part of God that gives life to the nefesh, ruach, nishama, to the three lower parts of the nishama, that is clothed in his animal soul, that comes from klipa, that is in the left side of the heart, which governs in the person while he is still a rasha, and it controls the small city, the body of the rasha. So the three lower parts of the neshama can be dragged down into the act of a sin, because it is connected to the animal soul, and when the animal soul drags it into sin, the nefesh, ruach, and neshama become degraded or dragged down into golus, so to speak. The naran are kevushim begeila etzla. The nefesh, ruach, neshama are in captivity, in exile, within the animal soul. And when his heart is broken-hearted within him, then the unholiness and the klipa are broken, the yispardu, and are dispersed, and the neshama is elevated. It rises from its fall, the gam nitzava, and then remains standing upright. Then it can begin to serve God properly, as is explained elsewhere. In today's Hayom Yom, for the 28th of Teves, which is also the birthday of the Rebbe's mother, the Rebbe Tzanchana, the Rebbe writes that the published version of Sefer Achkira, also called Derech Emunah, of the Tzemach Tzedek, doesn't have many footnotes and many Maramekemes. He composed it in connection with his trip to Petersburg, where he had to answer many questions that were posed to him by the officials, by the government officials, on those subjects that are discussed and explained in Derech Emunah.